I got lost in Facebook land.
Okay. Warm greetings from the high 10, everybody. It's Everyday Shenanigans. As most of you know, today marks 8 months that Summer Wells went missing from Rogersville, Tennessee. There have been no new updates except for what we learned a few weeks ago a week or so ago, pertaining to the father being arrested not arrested, but excuse me, went to jail,
Incarcerated.
yes, incarcerated for an arrest that took place back in the fall of 2021. An expectancy of 180 days, perhaps. We will see what happens with that. But I'm going to bring you older content because there's nothing new from WJHL, WVLT, WBIR, or WATE. I've searched extensively and I haven't found anything new put out for today's 8th month marking her disappearance. So I'm going to bring you older content that was uploaded on the 3rd and updated on the 4th of this month. And this is pertaining to a Wells birthday video in honor of other missing children. So this is a week or so old. Thank you for joining me.
It's her 6th birthday. Our Sam Luther talked with first responders who helped in the search and people who just aren't letting Summer's story be forgotten.
June 15th was the last time Summer Wells was seen. In the Hawkins County community, people like Haley Justine Thompson aren't letting the trail go cold.
We want to keep her in the light and we want to keep her name out there.
Friday, February 4th, marks Summer's 6th birthday. Over the past few days, Thompson and others have celebrated Summer both in Kingsport and across state lines in North Carolina. First responders with the Churchill Rescue Squad remember the first days of the search.
Our goal was obviously to locate her, that night, and then we went to that next morning. And then we just kept going for a total of 14 days in a row of nonstop, being there.
The TBI says they've received over 1,800 tips, but none have panned out. Chris Vaughn details the challenges crews on the ground were facing.
The radio systems that we have in this county were so terrible that to be able to communicate from the command post to just the people in where the wood area was, where they were actually actively searching, it was so hard. So we actually had good radios brought in from Sullivan County.
Vaughn says crews still go out to the Beech Creek area to search every now and then. The last time it happened was a few weeks ago, following up on every tip they received, while the community continues their efforts.
We're going to be honoring Summer tomorrow on her birthday with 6 minutes of silence, so we would love for people to join in and just think of her and pray for her during those 6 minutes.
Through a family spokesperson, Don and Candace Wells say, quote, "This is a tender day to us. We miss our Summer with all our hearts." In Hawkins County, Sam Luther, WVLT News.
And there's this. Summer's parents are going to release a video for her birthday at midnight, not 6 hours away. You'll be able to see it in the WVLT News.
All right, everybody. That's WVLT News, Channel 8 News here. Reminder that this is older content from over a week ago, right before the child's birthday. It's basically saying that the child went missing June 15th, 2021, Hawkins County, 5 years old. As everyone knows, on that Friday, February 4th, marked her 6th birthday as the investigation was reaching 8 months. 8 months now today. Through a family spokesperson, Don and Candace Wells said, "This is a tender day to us. We miss our Summer with all our hearts. We desire that Summer's birthday speaks for all the missing children everywhere. Thank you, everyone, for helping us restore our family and find our daughter, Summer Moon Utah Wells." Haley Justice Thompson is part of a community-led group that gathers every week to pray for Summer. "We want to keep her name in the light and keep her name out there," said Thompson. Officials with the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation said they have received over 1,800 tips, but none have panned out. First responders in Hawkins County remember the first few days of the search and the challenges they faced. Chris Vaughn with the Churchill Rescue Squad said the radio systems in this county are so terrible that being able to communicate from the command post to people in the wood area where people were actually searching was so hard that we actually had to have good radios brought in from Sullivan County. As far as what's ahead, Thompson said, "We're going to be honoring Summer tomorrow on her birthday with 6 minutes of silence. We would love for people to join in and pray for her during those minutes." A reward fund created to drive information in hopes to find the East Tennessee girl will continue to accept donations until June 15th, 2022, which marks 1 year since Summer disappeared from her residence on Ben Hill Road. It is now at $73,705.90. And remind you that was over a week ago. That amount may be different. The West family released a video on the website at midnight commemorating Summer's birthday. A timeline of her disappearance can be found here. And then in the said article, you will see that rendering of a photograph that looks nothing like Candace Bly in that said painting and the said information. This is Channel 8 News. Thank you all so much. And thank you all, for tuning in. If you'd like to donate to this channel and network, $BigAngie129 Cash App. Thank you all so much. And thank you for the super chats and the donations. Thank you for the kind compliments for Valentine's Day. One thing I find interesting about this said commentary is that how rough the terrain is and how they needed to go in to get other radios from Sullivan County. So that kind of jogs your memory back to Candace and her phone calls over the years, needing help from 911 pertaining to her issues with Donna Wells, and the fact that it seems that perhaps on many occasions, or a few, she used her mother's phone. So all this seems odd to me, because you have these people here saying how rough it is out there, not being able to communicate with one another while searching, but yet only one working phone from the mount. Something's just odd with all this information. Not to say that what they're saying is not true, but just saying it's a very strange situation. I'm just leery at this point of what is available as far as documentation of evidence in this case. I'm concerned about where the investigation is going, because at 8 months, it would be very hard for me to just fathom it's taking this long for basic information, such as DNA from the house, DNA from clothing, DNA from structures inside of the house, such as walls, bathroom sinks, toilets, kitchen area, DNA from the vehicle used on the said day, which was the red Subaru, allegedly, DNA from also the father's work truck. I'm assuming they would also swab the cars down, spray them for luminol. Any evidentiary material on the said property, which is 11 acres. That's a lot of area to circumnavigate by foot to look for anything. Then you have to ask yourself, exactly what am I looking for? Naturally, they know what they're looking for, but just I'm speaking as an outsider. It's just a lot going on in this case that you don't know anything about.
Right.
You got forward, people coming forward, giving her information pertaining to the relationship with Candace at the time, that is Boy H and his mother, and you're entitled to believe what you want by the said commentary. You also had a few other outsiders come forward, a co-worker of Don. You also have a few associates. I can't remember all the names because it's to the point where I don't even care, because it's somebody's version. And that's the thing about a story, is that it's always somebody's version. Whether it's the truth or not, it's still somebody's version. And that's when people bring forth information, they're not going to tell you everything in a story. People do leave out minute details. Some things are serious. It depends on the person who's spinning the story. And right now, this is just a wicked story of a child allegedly missing June 15th. Some of you speculate that she didn't go missing on that day. But as I said, if you're going to go there, then you'd have to say that the two people who came forward to give information are liars. And that's the mother and the son. You also have to tell yourself, if they didn't really care for the woman, why involve yourself in the story at all? Why even admit that you talked to her, texted her, got picked up by her? Why even be a part of the story when you didn't have to say anything to anyone? And that is something people need to remember with this story. No one would know anything about Boy H or his mother had those two stayed in the cut and kept quiet. It would have been just Don and Candace spinning the story of June 15th. As I said, there's nothing in the Google search pertaining to 8 months to the date. No news outlet that I searched has any information pertaining to the 8 months. So I had to go back in and go back to an older article. Feel free to go back to the beginning of this video to hear the said commentary. Channel 8 News, WVLT is the source. Who done it? What do you think thus far?
Thus far, I agree with you. I worry about the amount of time that's gone by, for sure. I like to think, I comfort myself with this, that they are dotting every I, crossing every T, because so much misinformation has been put out about this that I worry about the jury that is picked. There's 900 ways to confuse the jury, make them come to some kind of reasonable doubt. And so I know they want their case to be as airtight as possible. So I'm hanging my hat on that wish and hope that that's what's going on. So that's a concern that I have at this point. But wow, who knows? A lot of strange things have occurred over the last 8 months. As far as Hunter and Allie being part of this story, I wonder, because Hunter was there on the day that Summer disappeared, I wonder if they were anticipating that Candace and Don would throw them under the bus in some way. And
so you think that's why they went on and came forward beforehand?
I wonder if that wasn't like a preemptive strike of some kind. I wish I knew whether Chris McDonough contacted them or they contacted him.
Yeah, I can't remember.
Yeah, I don't know that I ever saw in one way or the other. But if there was any reason to talk, they know Candace. They know the games that they play, and they may have anticipated they're going to try to pin this on you, Hunter, somehow or other. So we better get out there with our.
And that's true, and that's a point that I don't think I've heard since the story has emerged. That possibly that's why they went on and talked, because they knew that possibly she might say something or try to implicate him into something. That's a great point. That's a very great, valid point. What if it was a strategic move? Let's go ahead and talk before the donkeys get to running out of the stables.
Okay.
True. I never thought about that. See, that's why I said, in a case like this, you always miss something that's been there all along. No one ever thought that perhaps this was a strategic move of the mother and the son to say, go ahead and speak, because your name is probably going to come up. She's probably going to mention you at some point that you all were with her. But don't you find it strange? In her telling of the story to the news, she never mentioned H's name one time.
True.
She never said who all was together in the car, where we went, how many stops we made, blah, blah, blah.
Right. That's interesting in and of itself.
Very interesting.
Huh. Well, I think they did fear. They know what game players that Candace and Don are, as we have all witnessed ththese last 8 months.
Somebody in the chat says he showed up at their house. That makes no sense to me. You just show up at somebody's house. Who does that?
Talking about H showing up at.
Talking about Chris McDonough.
Oh, Chris McDonough. Oh, he just came by. Well, stranger things in this case. Huh.
I just wouldn't show up at somebody's house. As an investigative reporter or anybody, I think I would reach out to them on social media, because most people have Facebook pages, and they do have Facebook. Would that make sense to send her a
right? And that makes me wonder how he knew then about them.
He's a cop. He's
right. He was talking to law enforcement and finding out who were their friends, who were they hanging with, and that's what led him to them.
I think he just heard the story, honey.
Oh, they were talking about. Okay. Yeah.
Like everybody else, he heard that a child was missing.
Yeah. So
I think he's familiar with the area. Some people have said that. So, who's to say?
Well, he does dig deep. So he wouldn't have had to dig too deep to figure that out. How he got them to say so much, I don't know. Pretty clever guy.
I think the fact that, Hunter is a kid that is talkative, that's obvious. Because a shy child would never agree to do it in the first place.
True.
Even though his father did want to do it. But anyway, as you see, when he did talk, he seemed very confident in talking.
Yeah. You're breaking up real bad all of a sudden.
You can't hear me?
I can at this moment, but while you were talking, you were cutting in and out.
Well, it might be the Wi-Fi. I'm not sure.
Yeah. Okay. Sounds good now. Carry on.
Well, it's just a sick story because, as I have been saying the past couple of months, I think it's daunting at this point. The endless chatter, the endless rumors, the endless spinning of the story, everybody going back and forth to day 1, day 8, because you didn't have anything else to talk about because they didn't bring us anything to go on.
And
except
people,
for he said and she said so.
And people adding their own imaginary narrative to the narrative really screwed it up. Carrying tales and making up stuff that wasn't a part of anything, got everybody confused, and it's been hard to sort and sift through all the information we have received.
Yeah. So do you think they have enough or not enough or nothing's come back, or what do you think?
I can't imagine there's much more they need to gather in 8 months when you have TBI and FBI and local law enforcement working on the same case. And we know how, the FBI and the TBI, when they get after you, they find out everything about you, your cousin, your brother, your aunt, your uncle, your great-great-grandparents. They know what's going on. So with all this time passed, I can't imagine that they don't have enough information at this point. Now, do I understand correctly that ultimately it's up to the DA whether or not to bring the case?
They have to have evidence. That's any case. I mean, there are times when the evidence is not enough and they bring forth an indictment anyway. So it's up to the 12 people that's, on the board to say, yes, this is enough to go forward to trial.
Well,
I want you to check something out.
Go ahead.
Hold on.
It's a big question, that's for sure.
Oh my God, help me, Jesus.
I wonder if everybody's got the same amount of frustration that's been expressed in this room from time to time. I see that.
Check your box.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's sad. It's very sad.
How much truth do you think we've been told by, let's say, Don from the beginning? How much? Oh, Lord.
By whom? By the people?
No,
talking
let's
to the
just
people
say
the story?
From day one.
The parents.
From day one, how much truth would Don have told at this point?
Probably nothing.
Right. Or Candace.
I can't trust anybody that's one nasty mouth, foul mouth, racist. Nothing you would say will be of relevance to me.
Right.
See, I'm cut from a different cloth. It doesn't matter. The old saying is there's some truth into all this bullshit. But in the end, I'm one of those type of people. I don't entertain it. I don't entertain what could possibly be the truth, because if it doesn't sound right, 9 times out of 10, it isn't right.
It isn't right. Yeah.
It's usually a sign of deception when it doesn't sound right.
Right.
And sometimes things don't sound right and it could be true. But when you have people who have proven that they are deceptive, have been deceptive along the way and proven that they cannot be trusted, then why would I believe anything that you said about your child missing? And that's what people don't seem to understand, is that when you play phone games with people and make up stuff about feds and this and that, and you're out here asking for money and you're getting turned up and drunk and showing out, and your children are removed, why would I believe the most important part of the story, which is your child went missing? I'm not going to believe anything you said. I'm not going to believe anything about where you went. I don't care if you even went there. It doesn't matter to me.
Yeah.
I'm just one of them. That's just how I'm cut. I don't care where you went.
I would hope that law enforcement would realize that these people are lying. They're liars. We don't know what part.
You hope they see that. If they're trained, if you are trained properly, whether you're a cop or you're a detective, you are supposed to be trained to, discern deception. That's part of being in law enforcement. If you can't discern deception, you're in the wrong line of business.
I agree. Totally.
You have to be able to discern that possibly he or she is not telling me the truth. Now, it could just be age old. A person's nervous. That's why they're sweating, fidgeting, blah, blah, blah. They're not well at speaking to people. You know, a lot of times people say if people don't give you eye contact, they're not telling the truth. That's not true. There's a lot of times I don't look at people when I talk to them, and I'm not lying about a damn thing.
Right. And if they touch their nose, that doesn't mean they're lying. There's just a lot of myths about how to detect a liar out there. I wonder, I was just noticing
I think
something.
they may have checked some things out that probably didn't pan out, and naturally they haven't told us.
Exactly.
Yeah, we went over here, we checked this, and this didn't add up to this. So
that's interesting because they have been very careful about what they have released. Actually, I take kind of some hope in the fact that Lawson did say everybody is still a suspect. Everybody, and we can't find any evidence. There is no evidence for an abduction.
I think it was so relevant to the case when you didn't remove the parents who are the beneficiaries of the said child and children. That told you everything you need to know. That's why I would tell people sometimes what they don't tell you is key to the story, the case. The fact that they were never removed as suspects should tell you something.
Yeah,
they should have been removed early on because everybody knows you work your way from inside then out. Everybody knows that.
Yeah,
work yourself.
They start at the house and go out from there.
Yeah, but you go with the suspects first.
Well, yeah, meaning the
individual
suspects
people
there. Yes.
Yeah, you go with the people who said they were with the child. So you go talk to all those said people, and then you talk and talk. Then you try to cross-reference everything that they said, where they were, and then you may talk to neighbors, family, whoever they talk to on the phone. You know, you just work your way around in that little circle, and then you go out if need be. But if you see that you need to stay in, then you stay in. You don't
Correct. Yeah, if all roads away lead to nowhere, then you just have to keep coming back to the beginning, like you've said, the beginning of the story. It's all right there. We just can't put the pieces together to make them fit or make them make sense.
Well, see, I think perhaps, and I'm praying this is true, they do have inkling that they are complicit, but they don't have, one, a body.
Right.
And two, they don't have a timeline, because once a person gets out of dodge of surveillance, then that's where your problem comes with pinpointing who went where, who sat where, who did what, how long was the engine running, you know, the basic necessities to put a case together. Because once a person goes outside of a camera, you can't say what they were doing.
Right. And if they don't have any kind of GPS device on their vehicle, that gives them the advantage. And look,
of course.
I don't mean this in a harsh way, but they could be moving that body all over the place, playing checkers with the law. You know, hey, tomorrow we're going to be searching out here so-and-so. Well, okay, let me go move something. They can't keep track out where these people live. It has given them an amazing advantage.
Yes, and I'm going to go back to something, and I'm going to go back to something that was relevant in this commentary when he said that they had a hard time communicating with one another during their searches. Right. That should give you enough evidence to say, who's to say GPS would even work if they can't even radio each other?
Exactly. And that was a real good thing to recall from this. And it made me, when you said it, it made me think about Don talking about when he had talked to Candace and Summer's missing and he leaves work and he heads home. And I remember him saying in his interview, and do you know, I could talk to her all the way home. I just thought.
Well, a lot of people are questioning that due to the fact of the terrain. And so you have to ask yourself exactly, as I had made a video before, exactly where was Candace when she was allegedly holding this said conversation.
Right. Yeah.
Because if those people are out in the holler and can't radio one another with heavy equipment, then how are you on a standard landline and or phone talking to him?
Right. How was that possible? I just found it odd that he would even, make mention of that. Didn't make sense to me at all that he even said it.
But see, that's the whole point of deception. I am not going to remember everything if I did not meticulously plan it out.
That's an excellent point. That speaks to this plan being put in motion actually being planned long before it was put in motion. Thought they had
We're not
every base
speaking
covered.
of, obviously, there's a problem in the chat. I don't know what the problem is.
Uh,
The point is, see, this is why I know people don't listen to anything I say up here. Out of sight means what I just said, out of sight. When you are out of sight of a camera, I can't say what you were and were not doing.
mm-hmm.
I didn't know I needed to define out of sight.
Yeah, right. Out of range of anything being able to detect you or your movements. Yeah.
If you're out of sight of a camera, nobody can say what you were doing and not doing. That's kind of self-explanatory. Has nothing to do with cameras at Walgreens. It's not what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
I said out of sight.
Well, when you're when you're working a con, let's just for a moment play it out, fully play it out. It's a con of some sort. We don't know exactly what the plan was, but what we do know is they've stuck to it. You know, they've had inconsistencies in their story and changed a little bit, but the main narrative stays the same, which leads me.
And that's the reason why I think along the way she added extra, because she was watching things on social media, watching people make videos, watching the people in the chat make their commentary. So naturally that sits with her and him. Okay, I'm gonna have to add something because they keep talking about this right here,
right?
Or they're adding this right there, and so I've got to now try to compensate for why they're questioning this and that,
adapting their story to what people are picking up on, and they realize that's a loose end. I got to fix that. So then they come up with something to make it kind of make sense that, oh, okay, well, that explains that. So people will go away. The problem has been that we sit out here listening to that saying, no, that doesn't explain that at all. In fact, that makes me ask more questions. So they're not very good at fixing their story. And that's what makes me think this is deception from every side here. These people are deceiving us every chance they get. They're playing a big, long game. And it's worked so far.
But now imagine the game minus one player.
Yeah, that's been our first big break has been that. To shut
one
him
player
up.
down. So now, what do you do? Because now she's on her own and left her own devices, which we know she's not good at doing anything on her own.
Nope.
So now you have a husband who is incarcerated. Thank you, Jesus. And now we have a woman who is left alone to fend for herself and try to walk amongst the living accordingly. And we know she can't do that well either.
No, she can't. And without daily direction from Don. Now he's incarcerated, so he knows their phone calls are monitored. So that limits him in what he can tell her. And look, you lied about this. You better go fix that. Or look, you need to be saying this, because otherwise he has to be careful what he says to her now, which is a wonderful thing because he's been directing this show all along. You know,
and that's what's so suspicious is that you weren't even there allegedly. So why would you be the mouthpiece for what took place on the 15th? It's not logical. And even in police interrogation, they will say something to the person who was not there. I'd like for her to speak, please. Please be quiet.
Yeah, exactly. Well, when you know you're telling a big lie, somebody has to be the mouthpiece to keep directing the big lie. And that's what leads me to believe that this was planned out ahead of time. This was a plan executed. And here we are 8 months later. Summer's still missing. We're thinking,
I mean, I can't believe it. 8 months.
I know. I couldn't believe it.
All this time has gone, season for season, antics, shenanigans, people showing out, name calling, mudslinging, all that you could think of. And now it's a new year. And it'll be sickening to look up. It'll be March.
I know.
And
before
April.
you know it.
I mean.
Yeah. And Donald.
That leads me to wonder if you have anything.
Well, I know there's that little bird inside my brain that says, wow, what if they just can't put this together? And
Right.
you know,
and that's what I'm afraid of at this point, because by now you should have something from phone pings.
something, some tidbit that
It's just the
opens his
beginning
case
stage
up.
of the timeline, even if you ain't even talked to every Tom, Dick, and Harry, every app, but just the direct timeline, that should already be there.
Exactly. The timeline makes no sense. There's just that huge gap in the afternoon about that.
Yes.
I think about Don. He's going to be if we have to go through June 15th and nothing's happened, and he's sitting in jail.
Exactly.
The irony of that you can't escape.
So
he's still going to be there till August, if you know.
At least, yes.
So there's that.
By then he will be a hot mess.
Won't
6 months in there, can't do nothing, can't talk, can't run nothing, can't orchestrate nothing.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, he'll be broke.
Can't get messed up. You know, can't just lay out and drug up and drink up and act out.
He gonna be nice and swole or nice and thin. Take your pick.
Right. Exactly. You got that right.
Yeah, Don, you kind of small, ain't you?
That liquor puffed you right up.
Yeah, I just been eating tuna and crackers. Minus the mayonnaise.
No luxury there.
Ain't that the truth?
They don't serve hors d'oeuvres in prison. So,
but he wants some good scrimp.
I bet you know he does. He wants some dip, some chip and dip. Pizza. He'll be missing pizza.
Would you pass me the Grey Poupon, please? Hell, we ain't got mustard.
Yeah, mayo is it. Take it or leave it.
And let me tell you something about life, but I think you already know. There is nothing, I mean absolutely nothing, like going in your refrigerator to get what you want out of there. Did you hear me? Just like today, I was slamming cabinets, rearranging and stuff, trying to get ready for this live. And I keep telling myself, need not complain, because somebody ain't got a cabinet door to slam. Do you understand?
The only slamming he hears is two metal doors. Yeah.
So it's a luxury to go over there, make all the coffee I want, snack all I want.
Right.
Go where I want, pee when I want. If I want to sit on the commode and just sit there and look in the mirror at myself and do nothing, not even actually use the bathroom, but just sit there. Stand in the shower, run the water, turn it on, turn it off. Do you understand where I'm going?
He ain't even sitting there waiting on the mountains to turn blue. You know, don't drink it if the mountains ain't blue on that.
But that is just a luxury of going in your own house and walk around and do as you see fit. And especially, like I said, the things that we value the most and take for granted, which is eating, sleeping, slumbering, going in and using the restroom when we want, showering when we want, sleeping when we want, getting up when we want, and eating when we want. We take those luxuries for granted.
Don't we?
Yes, we do.
And everybody in prison, I don't recall anybody saying, hey, I'd like to stay around here for a few more days if you don't mind. Everybody wants out because it's miserable. No freedoms.
Yes.
That's it.
You know, it's just like using the bathroom at home, even though we know they allegedly didn't have no doors up. There's nothing more luxurious than using the restroom with the door open.
Yeah.
And nobody to come by to say, what you doing? What you mean what I'm doing is my house? You understand?
Right. Having a shower anytime.
Yeah, because if you live in a house where a lot of people are running around, you're not supposed to use the restroom with the door open. But, you know, in jail, depending on how it's set up, there may not be no privacy, which I think that is so undignified. I don't care if you're in prison or not. Give some type of closure to using the restroom. Come on now.
Yeah. And from what I've heard others say, jail is loud. Everybody's yelling and talking all hours of the day and night, clanging and clanking going on, and voices down the hall.
Now they leave them in open rooms in the prisons, not like it was how they do it in the jails. Now they have just bed for bed, and you have no privacy. I mean, literally, your bed is next to somebody like you're in a damn infirmary. I tell myself, what kind of prison system is this? To where now you're just putting open cots in a big ass room. Maybe some got stackable bunk beds and other ones are just low beds. There is no privacy to just talk on the phone, fart, nothing. It's just insane.
Yeah,
but that's the point. A life knows got you there, so it doesn't matter to some. You understand what I'm saying?
I do. It ain't like 110. I mean, up in the Wells Chalet,
Yeah.
where they do what they want, act how they want, act any old way, act like idiots almost every day.
Yeah.
He has to be kind of careful where he can't act out like that because somebody will respond.
Well, he's in confinement right now, so he has the luxury of actually being to himself, and he can sit and talk to himself all he wants. Hello, Brittany. He can sit and talk to himself, chant all he wants, call Jesus, Moses, Job, and see if they answer.
Get him on speed dial.
Right. Job said, like, let me tell you something. Let me tell you a story. Years ago, I had done some fill-in work for a neighbor of mine, a friend. She used to clean house for this wealthy lady. And she said, Angela, I'm not going to be able to work tomorrow. So I was wondering if you go fill in for me, to clean her house. So I said, okay, I'll fill in for you. So the thing that's so interesting about this lady, she was married to an attorney. They had a business up in Gatlinburg as well. And, they had a little pocket change. And they live in a very affluent area. Near UT, most people know this area that's close to downtown Knoxville. It's over by the river. Very nice homes, great estates. People have a view of the water, blah, blah, blah. So anyway, when I get a job done, I get it done.
Of course.
I went in, I did my job, did what I had to do. By 1 o'clock, I'm in the kitchen looking at the newspaper. She gets up, teeter-tottering out like, Marilyn Monroe, somebody wannabe. And, oh my God, you're done for the day, blah, blah, blah. And you're like, yes, ma'am, I'm done. Well, I'll need you to run me around, blah, blah, blah. And, she was really trying to live the high life, had me chauffeuring around like, driving Miss Daisy, riding her around, taking her where she needed to go. Very trifling older lady, throwing her pimento cheese sandwich in the floorboard of the car. Just very, very disgusting. And she was so cheap that she packed her lunch and carried it around with her. Are you hearing me?
Trying to live the high life and carry
right. And gave me $4 for lunch. So my thing was kind of like, where's the other dollar? Because this is like 2002.
Yeah.
Okay. So $4 for lunch. She's riding around with her damn pimento cheese sandwich and her little snap pack. Too cheap to buy her own self lunch. But yet I'm taking her to find department stores and grocery stores to shop. Dropping her off at the front of the door. I mean, just some crazy ass nonsense. Anyway, long story short, she had me take her to this renowned psychic that lived in the area, and he lived up in Jefferson City up the highway. Nice little area. And I drove her up there one day. So while she's referring to the psychic, why I do not know, I just ride around the town. So I decided to go a few places, do a little shopping while I was there. So I decided after I did some shopping, I went and sat in the Burger King. So I ended up talking to this elderly Black man in there. And he started talking to me about God. This is what he said. Miss Lady, sometimes God gets tired. And I said, yes, I would suppose he would. He said, all the shenanigans and the complaining we do and moaning and calling him and worrying Jesus and God and calling on him and bringing all our unnecessary problems. Don't y'all think God gets tired? And I said, yeah, I think. He said, you know what I think? Sometimes we call God and he puts us on hold. And I thought about that. And I said to myself, I think this old man might be on to something. Perhaps there are times we call on the Lord and he don't answer because he's busy frying an egg or laying back somewhere watching TV himself. You understand what I'm saying?
Right. Kicking back.
So when we cry and moan, he ain't helped me with this problem. I still got this problem.
Yeah.
Maybe that's the day God put you on hold. Or you got a busy signal. Come on, Queen. You understand?
Yes. Yeah.
But that man was telling the truth that God gets tired. He gets tired of the foolishness. And I do believe there's times when he lets your call go to voicemail, you get a busy signal, or he just looks at the number and say, I'll call Pookie back on Thursday.
I think sometimes people we all like to hear from God. Yes. I think sometimes he seems to be silent with us.
Oh, yes.
It's because he knows he gave us a brain. He knows he gave us a conscience.
Free will.
Yeah, he knows how he has equipped us, but we don't want to go through all the steps that it
Yeah.
takes to work
Because
through a
it
thing.
can't be that he's going to do everything. See, this is where man gets things confused.
Yeah.
He doesn't have to do anything because one, as you're saying, he's giving you free will.
Yeah.
So I cannot do everything for you when I've already given you free will. And you have decided to do what you want, when you want. And then let's say there's repercussions from what you did, said, and now you call on me to come rectify the problem.
Right. You knew that was wrong when you did it.
Exactly.
And now you come in here.
Why should I now come through and try to pick up the pieces on some mess that you went and orchestrated? And or it could be something that you didn't orchestrate, just something bad jumped out, or some old petty scenario, and you call it on the Lord. Please help me, Lord Jesus.
I messed up again.
Why is this happening to me? But as one pastor said on TV, one of those evangelical pastors, he said, "Why not you? Who are you to be special for something not to go wrong?"
Well, that's wisdom.
Considering what happened to Jesus, what you complaining about?
Exactly.
So when I heard that, I said, "Well, I'm just gonna shut on up."
Well, I read once someplace where there are two answers we get from God. Yes, I thought you'd never ask, and no, I love you too much. I rest a lot in those because I think, okay, if I hear from the Lord about this, or if I don't, then he wants me to use my own brain to work through something. He's equipped me to get through this. And he really doesn't put more on us than we can bear. But like Mother Teresa once said, well, I just wish he wouldn't trust me so much because life is hard. Nobody said it's going to be an easy ride. Nobody goes to heaven on a feather bed. So, you know.
Oh, have mercy, not a feather bed. That's a good one.
I loved my grandmother's feather bed. Oh, I loved it. So yeah, life is hard, and we have to figure it out. Look, thank God he is long suffering, and he has put up with us, and why he continues to bless us all with sunshine and rain. That's why he's God and I'm not.
That's right. And that's what I tell people all the time. So that's why I tell people, stop trying to put me where he is. See, that's what people don't seem to understand. I'm not him. Other people are not him. We are flawed. We are the flesh. That's the whole purpose of being of the flesh. You're going to say and do things that somebody's not going to like and agree with. That's just a spoken word.
Yeah. Being God is way above my pay grade. It's way above it. I am not qualified. And I don't question it either. And neither do I wish that I could be. I'm just glad he is. Thank you, Lord. He handles it all.
Ask ourselves, where is God standing in this mess right here?
Well, I know his name has been misused in this mess here. Because, you know, blessings and cursings just ought not to come out of the same mouth. But
amen. Shut your mouth.
And Don Wells has
blasphemous.
You know, he had very blasphemous.
Yeah,
and I wouldn't want to be in those shoes.
Don't know how to act like he's flawed, you know.
Oh yeah, we
have to claim parts of you that's flawed.
Yeah,
you can't just sit up and talk about the Bible and then go calling people niggers and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, right. You know, like I tell people, I know my mouth is potty, but I claims all that.
Well, you know, you have the Spirit. I can tell he does not have the Spirit in him. He just doesn't. He's devoid of spiritual discernment.
He's emotionless.
Yeah, he really is. He's dark.
Because he's probably been raised by some very cold people.
Well, no doubt.
That's something I find interesting too. I'm going to touch on that. The fact that that sister or stepsister said she was close to the father. First thing I've been thinking to my mind is, are we talking about a situation of people who had a wayward son, or there's something sinister was going on with these people raising Donald Wells?
Well, I find that very easy to believe.
Which one?
You are how you've been raised. If you've been raised to be moral and decent and do right.
Well, you know, there's an exception now. You know, there's an exception of people who did have good, decent parents, to most people's knowledge, but something happened with the child.
Right. But when you find a dark, lost soul, he hadn't been raised with anything, any kind of foundation of faith or belief or any kind of moral code.
Believe in God, I wonder. His parents. I wonder, does his father believe in God? I wonder, does his father go to church? I'm wondering how he was actually treated as a child.
Probably poorly, I'd say.
Because he got into mischief kind of young. getting in trouble,
Yeah.
you know, because remember, allegedly he came back at 19 from a prison stint or something, didn't he? When
Yes.
abuse
Yes.
and then tried to do whatever and then it stopped. So I have to ask myself, what's going on
He's
with
lost.
his parents?
His parents probably been lost for years, and he's lost too. He's just a lost, dark soul.
2 people in the chat saying he had an abusive stepfather.
Well, I can believe that. Yeah. That hardened him. If he beat him, a child, when they get beat, they grow up hardened, bitter,
Oh yes,
and
of course.
mad at the world.
Yeah, yeah.
And some may be able to work through that. God help them. I hope that some can. But he seems to be a case that hasn't, and so does Candace. She gives off that hard, bitter vibe.
She's very rough around the edges. Her demeanor is just too rough and masculine. I mean, it's like there's no femininity with her. And you have to ask yourself in the beginning, you know, how did these 2 mesh to cross each other's paths to have a relationship? It's very, very interesting.
Yeah.
Because then you have to ask yourself, what did the last woman look like, Don's wife? Was she feminine or masculine?
Correct. Well, he goes out of his way to mention that Robin, you know, that Summer was attracted to pretty women and people who were professional.
Right.
I thought, man, if I'm Candace sitting right there, that would hurt my feelings.
It would hurt mine too. That's why I said, that's why you know these 2 are sick.
Yeah.
Because you have people who live just like this every day. They feed off each other with madness and chaos. And one will sit there and talk bad about the other one in front of other people. And that other person will just sit there and allow it. There's no way I'm going to sit here and let my husband go on and on about what type of women my child gravitated towards. That is just the craziest thing I've ever heard.
Yeah, that's him telling his own story. But he did marry Candace or had babies with her. So there was something going on there. But I look back, I look at their situation and I think people give what they have been given, what's been instilled in them. And it kind of goes along with what you were talking about last night about love. These people don't know love. They don't know how to express it, probably because it was never modeled for them in a way that says, oh, so when you're nice to people and you show about that you care about them, this is love. Well, he wasn't raised with people that cared about anybody. So what does he do? He don't care about anybody.
I mean, you know, like I said, I don't know his whole dynamic because I tell people I don't watch other content to know what is what. But I do find it interesting. Those are the main people that you think you would want to hear from besides all these other jackass folks. I would want to hear from his parents or whoever raised them if they're living. Don't you think it would make sense if they came forward in the beginning to say, hi, we're the parents, grandparents, whatever, we're concerned about the child, blah, blah, blah. But maybe they can't come forward because they didn't have a bond with the said children.
Right.
And that would find that baffling that this man never had any parents to come forward to speak up about the children or he and Candy's behavior. But yet this is the same person who he went to try to move in with the year beforehand. There's something very odd with these people.
Well, how often have we heard Grandis, you know, come to the microphone and say, this is my daughter. This is my child. I know her better than anybody. I know that nothing happened. I was with her all day. And what she's telling you is the truth. We didn't see Grandis coming out saying anything in her daughter's favor.
Well, that's why, you know, it's strange. That's why I said the whole behavior of all these people involved, all these people whose names have come up in the storyline. You have a grandmother who was visibly here, allegedly with the child, but she doesn't say anything to the news with them. That makes no sense for you to be present most of the day with this kid and you don't even speak to the news with the mother and father. Then you have a father doing all the talking, but allegedly he wasn't there. Then you have these 2 friends jumping on the bandwagon to talk to an ex-cop who's a YouTuber to bring forward information. It's just really all the wrong elements talking.
That is what has drawn the crowd to their circus. If they had behaved as normal parents who have a missing child, they are at that microphone crying every 5 minutes. She looks like this. This is her name. This is what she loves. Any information you can give us. But
that's what you're supposed to say to an abductor anyway, is to make the child appear human. We learned that in watching Silence of the Lambs.
Yeah, exactly.
You talk to the camera and call the person by their name.
And that's what we have seen out of almost all parents who come to that microphone. They are full of emotion.
Yeah, you're supposed to make the person human.
Yeah, they are pleading and begging for that child. They haven't done any of this. All they've told is the story that covers their butt. That's it.
Like this. If you talk to Summer, you will see that she is this, and this. She has a this, and this. You're supposed to make the abductor relate to the child to give the child back.
Right, to have some pity and create compassion. Yeah, but they've done none of that. So that's why we're all talking about them.
So that's what makes no sense. You're going to claim that your child is abducted, but you won't speak to the abductor. That's the first person you were supposed to speak to before even talking to the reporter. You're supposed to say, this is my plea to the abductor. I don't know you. I don't know what you're going through, but there is a reason why you took my child. If you could kindly please find it in your heart to bring her back.
Right.
We will ask no questions, whatever. You say anything.
Yes, no questions asked. We just want her back. Or if you need money, I'll meet you. You know, anything, begging and pleading. If I recall, the first interview that Don gave was 3 days, maybe a week later. I can't remember. It's not the point. I think the reporter asked him something to the effect, how are you handling this? What do you think of the situation? And he just starts off on himself, about what we believe and the good people we try to attract. That's a moment somebody's handing you the microphone. First chance you've had to go live to the nation, and all you can talk about is how y'all try to cultivate good friendships and hang out with good people. Knowing that's a lie.
That's a cover up. That's what she's done, talked in circles. You never gave a timeline of what happened on the 15th. So you've done just like the mess out in Cal City, all these people that talk around the subject that don't want to own any parts of doing wrong by their children, whether they had custody of them or not. You talk around the subject. You talk around the allegations. You talk around the abuse. You talk around the neglect. You talk around the timeline. And people are stupid enough to sit there and fall for it. And that's what kills me, is that somebody should make them stand account during the interview. Hey, it's not what we're talking about.
Correct.
What did you do at this time? What time was that? Yeah. See that reporter that let them talk that day outside? She didn't do her job. You're supposed to say, ma'am, what time did you get up?
Right.
What time did you go do this?
Take me through your day.
Exactly. What time did you get home? How did the child look? Where were your other children? See, that's when the story would have spun on its own, and they would have been caught right there red-handed lying, because they wouldn't have been expecting her to ask. And who's to say if these dodo birds didn't tell her what they will respond to and won't?
Yeah, exactly. You
can't have a kidnap story without a timeline. So what person is going to just let you sit here and say, I came home, planted flowers? Most people would be looking at the dispatch call and saying to themselves, something's not right here. If there's a call going in at this time, what were they doing during this time?
Right, exactly. And as a matter of fact, as a parent, you are more than happy to fill in every single minute of the day with no gaps. And then we did this, and then we did that. To give as much information out as possible. You're not going to withhold 3 hours of your day.
Well, that's
where you just can't quite remember.
The problem lies with people interviewing her. You did not ask the important questions.
Yeah.
Which is the timeline.
Yeah.
I don't know why it would be of any interest to ask somebody what they did that day and don't even start off with the time.
Right. Yeah. I agree. The drop the ball.
You just left the entire day open to say nothing. She starts, matter of fact, Candace starts that interview off, I believe, with the planting of flowers and all that. It don't even start in that morning, if I recollect.
Right. The only time she went back to that was after Hunter gave an account of the day, and then she talked to Christmas McDonough at the creek about it. Yeah. He had all the places right.
When she talked to the news lady
she didn't go into her day. No,
Yeah,
she did not.
you didn't go in to say, we got up, we had errands to run, I had to pick up my mother at the hospital. Around this time, I went over here and did this. Then we went over to the swim hole for a while. Then we hit. You ain't told nothing about what the fuck you did that day, which I don't understand these news people. Why you wouldn't even ask to say, well, what time was this? Exactly. I'm just going to let you sit here and start talking about what the hell you did allegedly at 3:18. Right. Oh, I forgot you didn't give us a time. You just said, oh, I walked off. I came back to planet Earth, and then I parked my car, put groceries out, and just it's bullshit. And you sit there and let that spin. This is where I have a problem with the news, is people love talking about fake news, this and that. You don't allow the person no wiggle room.
Right. You have an opportunity right then and there when it's fresh to get answers.
Answers. So you don't leave it open. So you did just what she's been doing and hoped you do. You didn't ask pertinent questions about the time. Ma'am, what did you do today? What time did you get out today? What time did you leave today? How many places did you go today? Who all was with you today?
Right.
Where are those people today?
Yes.
Don't you find it strange? You only have Chris Madonna speaking to Allie and H, but not the news. Stay woke.
I do find that strange.
In the beginning of the story, the news is who you should be spending your he said, she said to, not a YouTuber.
Right. Well, ignorance runs rampant in this crowd. And so, yeah. I mean, I just don't look at like Allie and H. They're just sort of
pawns.
I don't mean to be unkind when I say this. Just sort of not very curious people in terms of there's a certain level of ignorance there.
Yeah, well, we know that just from how they interacted with each other as friends, associates, all that mess with, the Jose bullshit and he said, she said stuff, how they let the children run amok, run away from school, run away from home, just all type of craziness. There's no structure in any of the households. So that's why it's to be expected that these people would have drama, missing kids, hurt kids, kids in CPS custody, kids in detention centers. It's just a repetition of probably a jacked up life they had as a child. Now they reared some children, and now those children are jacked up. And God forbid, when H gets older, those boys get older, they go right out here and do the same damn thing their stupid ass parents were doing.
Right. Well, you can see how it becomes generational, just one generation to the next.
There's no break.
Fast forward.
There's no break.
No break.
You go straight to the street.
Until somebody gets a thought through their education or something that I can change things and begins to turn things around, then maybe there's some hope. But it's so ingrained that the culture
thank you, John,
is ingrained that they can't get above their raising.
And that's what's so sad about life is that I sit here all the time and look at people who act a fool, such as these people. And the first thing I say to myself is that you could be so much better than what you're doing. You do not have to continue to behave this way. Walk around here acting like you can't wash your ass. You can't clean yourself up. You can't cut your hair. You can't put on decent clothes. You are choosing to just be a misfit. Why? Why do you like walking around looking like this, acting like this? Don't you know you are a poor representation for your children? Your children have to have somebody to look up to emulate. So why do you want to walk around? You're a female, but you're walking around with your hair shaved down to the nub, looking like a man. You're acting like a man. You're standing like a man, but yet you're a woman. Then you're a father walking around talking crazy, beating up on people, your wife getting drunk and using drugs, staying in trouble. Mama's calling the law on the daddy. Oh, I'm scared. Then they're back lovey-dovey doing lives together. And before YouTube, they were still living together. So naturally, their children saw all of this. Yes. How chaotic that must have been for their kids.
I just cannot imagine. And I am thankful and hope that they have gone to a better home. But I'm so thankful that they're out of that. Anything that is not life out there. That is not anything.
Don't you think? And how convenient is it to be shrouded by trees and high grass? You can do anything you want back there.
Right. Yeah, you practically off the grid.
Hey, let's be truthful. Everybody back there could be dead. Who
would
look and inquire? That's why I tell people stay woke. It's the perfect setup for chaos.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. With the perfect cast of characters.
Somebody asked, do you think Don calls Candace?
Well, I was wondering about that. They are free to talk once a day or as often as they like. I wonder what the setup is about that.
Well, you have to set everything up, I think, on a card and all that kind of bullshit.
So I mean, you just can't go to the phone anytime you want to. He can't, right?
I don't know. They do things different in different jails, so I can't. I don't know anybody in jail to say how it's set up.
I don't know what Hawkins County is about, so I couldn't speak to it either. I just wonder about the how they able to.
But imagine this is the same woman who can't keep direct phone service.
Right.
So imagine calling. Are you actually getting through the line?
If Don's blowing up Grandis's phone, you mean?
Oh, and imagine that.
She ain't gonna put up with that.
Do like how we do when we're on the phone and we're trying to hang up from somebody. You start talking away from the phone. I can't hear you.
Yeah.
What you say?
Seems to be something on the line, some interference. I can't hear you. Yeah. Yeah, I got to move on here. Yeah.
Very sick story.
So they had, in your commentary, they had 6 minutes of silence on her birthday. And I thought to myself, well, at least we had 6 minutes of relief from them talking to somebody.
Oh, yeah, especially Don with cotton mouth.
He has not been quiet since this thing kicked off.
Sad.
He cannot keep himself quiet. That's when you
know that there's something wrong with these people, that they're complicit to doing something to this child, covering up something, because it was never a moment's rest. The things you should be talking about, you are not, which is the child.
Yes.
Exactly. And then you couldn't do anything right about talking about the boys, so they put a gag order with that. That should tell you something right there. Why did they not want him saying anything about his boy children? Because they knew about you being on social media.
Another thing I find strange is that when this happened, and they say typically when there is an abduction, if there is, they will separate the parents and get their stories right then and there. And so they didn't do that in this case. I don't believe law enforcement didn't separate them and remove the boys. You got one child that's already missing. Do you want to leave these boys here and maybe they're going to be abducted?
Well, that's what I'm telling people, about all the rumors about CPS and why they came and what was alleged beforehand. I don't think anything was going on because it makes no sense for me to leave 6 there, especially if I walked up to the property, saw how they were living.
Yeah.
I don't think I'd have left the boys there. I think I would call CPS that night and say, I think you need to come out here or just run a check on this family to see if they have any negative dealings with you, your agent.
Yeah, see what's their story with you.
So anything negative would have come back.
Yeah.
I think they would have removed the boys that night. So that leads me to think either law officials did not call CPS or they called and there was nothing going on, and they just made a decision to let them stay there. I don't know. They're not telling us anything.
Yeah, somebody said the foster care system is broken, and it clearly it is. There needs to be need to be some changes made for sure. But we have a child problem.
It needs to be solved. The police don't trust the police. Then who are we supposed to trust to solve the crime? Random people can't solve this.
It just takes legislation, and then look, if you're going to make a law, enforce the law. If it's on the books that it's a law, then you ought to be enforcing it. And we have an enforcement problem in this country, but overall, we have a child problem in this country. People leaving their kids just
anywhere and unattended, and people are afraid to say anything because they don't want to get involved. They don't want to be testifying before the court, and I get that. So this is the reason why. And then too, we just have a lot of cold-hearted people who have kids. They don't care.
Yeah.
I talk to people. I talk to a few people who, let me tell you something. I wouldn't leave a goldfish with them because they're too concerned about fucking TikTok and this and that, and they don't care about the kids they got. So I tell people, they don't care about their kids. Why are they going to care about your kid across the street that you're beating up on?
Right. Thank you, CR. That's very generous of you. Very sweet. Very thoughtful. Y'all hit that like button, please. It's a bunch of you in here. Let your voice be heard.
I just turn my little heat up. It's getting kind of chilly here.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, honey. Thank you, sweetheart. Thank you.
Yeah. There's just been so much confusion and chaos, and I don't know. If I just speak plainly, I just see the devil in all of it. You know, you can't dance with the devil.
Somebody says DW is intent all alone to get arrested. What you mean to get arrested? Why would Don want to get arrested? I don't believe that. He has too much to lose by being arrested. Because he doesn't have control. BDAC, thank you so much.
Yeah, that's
he doesn't have any control over the situation at his house, his life, his children. Why would I want to lay in prison, jail? And I've been out here orchestrating and running my mouth. Donald Wells don't want to be in jail. I can tell you that. That's the last place he wants to be.
Ask him today.
Yeah.
Was that a good plan?
Right. Seriously.
Yeah.
I don't want to be locked up in here. I can't see what's going on the outside. I can't orchestrate anything. Right. I can't be a grand narcissist. Oh, no, honey.
Right. I can't be online speaking to the world every night.
Yes. Yeah.
I can't get all that attention. Yeah, go ahead.
If she's still wanting money to help out with their bills or whatever the hell she's needing money, how is she going to do it now with nobody having a way to contact her or anybody affiliated with her to give money? I'll be right back.
Yeah, go ahead. Well, it's a good question. I think if people are giving her money and she's getting it some kind of way, whether somebody's collecting it for her, and among that group of thieves that all get behind them, there's nobody I'd trust to say, well, you get money for me and then you bring it to me. Oh yeah, I'll be glad to do that because I'm a crackhead and I will bring you all the money that you get. No, I don't think so. So that's a dead end street right there. And if she's getting it, I don't see her using it to pay bills. I don't see her using it to be responsible in any way. She's never had to be responsible. All she's had to do is, drive kids here and there to the swimming hole and back and lay up in the house all day. That's it for her life. So, she's not going to be responsible even if she gets money. So I give it 2 months before that car disappears and taxes come and due. That's going to be a hit. And Grandis, it might help her out with a little food here and there, but Grandis going to get sick of that because like you said last night, they're up on that hill. They have to pay taxes. Why do they want to invest in something they're never going to get anything back on? It's in his name. So it's not in their names. They can't sell anything. They can't do a dadgum thing without his approval. So that's a dead end street right there. So I see her back to the wall with nowhere to go. And her best bet is for Candace and Grandis to hitch that trailer up and move on out of there and just get lost. That's just.
Or?
What are you going to do? They're not going to spend. You think Grandis is going to pay her good money, what little she might get, or however much she's got?
We don't know how much money either of these women bring in from Social Security. If true that Candace even gets Social Security. And one thing we learn about people, eventually one gets tired of having to carry the weight of somebody else. And Candace doesn't work. So we have to remember, Grandis probably doesn't get a whole lot unless she's worked extensively.
Yes,
so
you're right.
If she doesn't make as much as Don was making, that's going to get old. Yes, of course it's going to get old.
It'll get old really fast. And plus, let's say Don gets out. Let's hope it's a year, if he gets out at all, ever. But he comes back. There's nothing to keep him from saying, hey, y'all get out of here.
It's 206 due at the end of February.
So,
damn.
Well, there you go. And chai pie. Very good. Yeah. So.
Somebody said she's the wife. She could sell it off. She could.
If it's in his name, that doesn't necessarily put property in her name.
She can find a way. She can find a way to do things. That stuff about somebody's name being on something, that don't mean nothing when you're locked up.
I see. Well,
people find ways to do things all the time when people are incarcerated.
Okay. Well, I could see an exceptional
you don't know how
case like
they
that.
are.
Right. Yeah.
You don't know all the people they owe money to, so
Yeah.
you don't know all that.
Well, right, because I mean, I know a lot of people. I can't go out and sell their house, but they're not incarcerated. But with him being incarcerated, then that does put a different spin on it.
Yeah.
So,
You got to
well,
think
at
about all
least
the people they owe. You don't know if they got check loans out. You know, people that's going to the checking cash, getting payday loans and all that. So you don't know if he owns that. You don't know he could have borrowed against that car. You better stay woke. See, that's one thing I ain't even thought about.
Yeah.
Drug addicts borrow against stuff.
I know one call I would make before I would start asking my friends for money.
You can pawn your car at the pawn shop. For those
right. Well, I'd be calling the metal scrap man out there on that hill and say, I got some stuff up here for you, and let him come and get every bit of that garbage off that land, the bus, every piece of metal laying out in the yard. What a safe environment for those kids. My God.
You got several thousand right there just with all that metal.
Yeah, just come and then I'd be calling whoever likes to collect cans. Y'all come up here and clean my yard for me. So yeah, I mean,
well, Candace don't work, so she can get her ass out there and clean her own yard.
Yeah, she's sitting on money.
She got 2 trucks, so she has access to ways to carry the cans to the scrap yard.
Right. You possibly have, I don't know, $3,000 or $4,000 of metal in your yard, but your first thought is to go begging. That's just lazy to me. And sure, Don, you didn't leave me with a dime, so I'll be glad to pay whatever. I'll pay the light bill, the water bill. I'll pay the taxes. I'll keep your place up for you. Don't worry about it, honey.
That would be cruel to leave somebody nothing, knowing they don't work, they don't have any skills to maintain the household.
True. So.
Somebody says Grandis truck is in Candace's name. Now, why would Grandis truck be in Candace's name?
Wow. Who knows what's in whose name out there?
DW knew since October he was going to jail. Was he worried about CW financial burdens? No. No. So like you said last night, or the other day, he had a stash somewhere, just in case that he actually did. I mean, I'm paraphrasing $1,000. Don had something he could have given her.
Yeah, he had his commissary money in his pocket when he went before that judge, or he's a bigger idiot than I think.
Just in case, right? Yeah, you're a true narcissist if you didn't take a couple $100 with you. Right.
Just knowing how jail is, he's done time. He knows the game. He knows how it works. So I can't imagine that he didn't go in there with something, thinking he might not be able to talk his way out of this one.
Very sick.
Yeah.
These are very sick people.
Well, we think and we pray about little Summer, and pray that there'll be a sense of justice about this at some point, and pray that those boys get a proper raising.
Right.
I don't know how to pray for the parents and the
others. You know what I tell people in situations like that? That's God's work. That's not man's work. Man can't do anything with Candace and Don.
Right. I just turn them over to him.
Talking about therapy and drug rehabilitation and all that. You're talking to yourself. That's God's work. Those two, nobody can do nothing with them but God.
It teaches a grand lesson that once you start down a path, a bad path, there are places along the way where you have a chance to turn around and straighten yourself out. But there's also a point of no return. And these people have passed that point of no return. So I have to turn them over to God, because they've gone beyond their ability to get themselves straightened out. They don't want to. They still don't want to. We've seen it in the last 8 months. They had a chance to maybe possibly get their children back, if that ever was the possibility, to clean up their house, make some nice rooms, make a home out of that place, clean up their property, and get their boys back. They didn't care enough about it to do that. So I know they don't care enough about it to turn their own lives around. And I know I'm just speaking my own opinion, but this is what we've been shown. So That's my conclusion from what I've seen them do or not do. They don't care.
Yeah.
Are you getting ice? I thought I heard an ice tray or ice rattling around.
No, I had put that coffee mug on the spinner in the microwave. I need to microwave my coffee, honey.
Oh, you're trying to warm up. You cold?
Yeah, I got to warm up because this temperature is just very off down here. It's supposed to be warmer today, but inside here it's cold.
Yeah.
Maybe he did leave Candace money. He could have. But if he left her money, then why are you begging for money? You
that she ought to spend.
You have to leave a substantial amount of money for 6 months. That's just common sense. You can't expect her to go out here and just all of a sudden find a job and start paying bills there. It doesn't work like that. These people are not paying any money in these rural parts. They're still paying $7, $8 and some change for basic retail work. You know what a light bill will cost? I can tell you I pay a lot for a light bill just because of the way the place is set up.
Right.
You know.
Yeah.
It's not including other expenses. So
this stuff ain't free. It ain't free.
Things. She's, you're talking about water, gas, electric, all that kind of stuff. The stuff for the car. You don't really know what they pay in the car. You don't know if they put a loan against the car. So you don't know all that. They're not going to tell you that.
Well, I don't think she wants to work. She's got very limited skills.
Why do you think she went and begged? She's got access to 2 vehicles where she could have went and applied for a job somewhere and probably got hired that day.
Like I said, DoorDash, you don't have to have any particular skills.
Very easy job.
Yeah, and she sure knows how to order from McDonald's.
Well,
although some people say she could work for McDonald's, but look, if I drive up to the drive thing to get my food, and I'm looking at that handing it out to me, sorry, this is cruel. I just might lose my appetite. So I don't know that would work for her to. Maybe she could mop or look. If you want to work, there's work to be found.
Wants more so she don't run out. Well, that's the whole point. They're hustlers. So he could have left her something. But the point is, the money is never going to be enough for her because she has a habit as well. She may not use drugs, as she says, blah, 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 in some posts, in her trying to rectify the situation with what people saw in that picture, the spoon on a plate, blah, blah, blah. The point still remains she's not used to working. She's not used to budgeting. She's not used to budgeting a checkbook, accounts. So she just spends whatever's given to her and whatever she has access to.
Yeah, yeah. When you lose your provider that you've been dependent on, there's 100 things that come up that you didn't remember, you didn't realize until here it is, and now I don't have the money for it. So she's always dependent on him.
Don's in jail. What are you saying?
Yeah. If somebody said that Dawn said that she could drywall better than he could, well, go get a drywall job. If she's got that skill.
Oh my God. Sunset, please stop. Imagine seeing blue tank top showing up as your Uber driver.
Scary. I'm sorry.
You get in
they
the car.
Left. They said to tell you they left already.
Where are they going? Highway to hell?
Hotel California. Yeah. I'm gonna have to leave here in a little bit.
Oh, that's fine, baby.
I got to cook some supper. Can you believe
that's so true. They knew it was possible Don would go to jail. Why didn't they set something aside? I don't know. See, that's the thing. That's the whole thing about this story. You don't know what's fact or fiction. You don't know their financial situation. You don't know what's paid for, not paid for. You don't know. You all like Googling books and court records and all that. But in the end, you don't know who they owe. You don't know if they've taken loans out on their house, properties. You don't know that. People do it all the time.
We'll probably see a domino or two fall here in the next few months when the money runs out, because their stream of people who would contribute is going to dry up fast. Those people are.
I wouldn't give you nothing.
Nor would I.
I wouldn't give you nothing because of your behavior. Yeah. 2, as far as the church giving anything, they will be utter fools to give them anything, considering this is a situation of where a man got himself in trouble and went to jail. Why should I give you money because you went to jail? That's what you're saying. That's what you're saying. I should give you money because you went to jail and fucked up on your own. You're supposed to be in this church getting something from the word. But now your kids are gone. One's missing. You're in jail. And now I got to give you money. My church members got to give you money to help this woman who we've seen gets turned up as well as you. Hell no.
Right. These people have lived on the hustle their whole lives. That's all they know is the hustle. So, you know, and asking people for things and people being stupid enough to give it to them.
Exactly.
But I think we're going to see a whole lot happen here in the next few months. Because they're not going to be able to afford to stay where they are, as meager as it is. They're not going to be able to now look, they may just default on everything out there.
Yeah.
So what you going to do? Grandis is not going to default on anything. She's still got her vehicle. She can pull the heck out of there and head west.
Someone's asking me, why would Don buy a car that seats 5 when they're a family of 6? Well, honey, maybe you can afford a car to have 6 seats.
Yeah, it's an interesting question, but yeah.
Maybe Don didn't want to Escalade.
Maybe Don didn't want to go anywhere with him.
A full excursion. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, supposedly he allegedly bought that car for Candace to haul the kids around.
We're only getting bits and pieces of Don and Candace's life. This is very true.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We have no idea what their life is like, what they've borrowed against. And this is what some people need to understand about poor people. Poor people borrow against their belongings. People who are drug addicts borrow against their belongings. Mm-hmm. There are also some people who have salary jobs who borrow against their credit to get loans.
And we don't know how deep they got into local drug people. We don't know how deep they may be in on other, hey, front me some, front me this, front me that.
Yes. But see, that's the thing about a minivan truck. The bigger the vehicle, the more gas you've got to pay. Everybody knows that.
Right. Yeah.
You're trying to get a big boy Escalade, Excursion, whatever. That's big boy gas.
Yeah. Yes.
Big boy gas. And if you're cheap, you're not trying to put all that gas, $100-some in no damn truck to drive your children around. And you see how they live, so do the math. And I still don't believe he would even want to pay $600 for a car note when he doesn't even have stairs to go to the front door of his home. He doesn't have an adequate kitchen, bedroom, walls. There's something off with that.
Yeah. Very off.
Donald Wells don't strike me as somebody that would go to the dealer and put down several $1,000s for a car. He doesn't strike me as that person because he doesn't live that type of life to go put down several $1,000s for a car and then pay an expensive car note when he's barely making it, and then he has habits.
Yeah.
And he lives filthy. That they don't add up.
Because ultimately, when you become addicted to something, that becomes God to you, and everything you do serves that God, and everything else falls by the wayside. It's just that's the way it happens in the end of it. You had a chance to turn around, but you didn't, and now you're hooked. You're on the big hook, and you can't get off of it. And that's the only thing that becomes important. That drug, people will leave everything for that drug. Anything that becomes the only thing you ultimately care about or have any regard for. So you serve, that becomes your master.
About nothing else. And these two, I'm telling you, man, like somebody said, gas for the car. You all know how much gas is down here in Tennessee. It's at $3.19 in the area where I am.
Yeah, about the same here too. Yeah. So like I say, I think things are gonna, I hope so, things are gonna begin to fall off and fall apart and cave in, and we get some justice for this sweet little girl.
Well, we will see.
We shall see, won't we? We'll be waiting to see.
And when you get ready to cook me, ma'am? Because I gotta get
here
out
just about in about 5 minutes. I'm cooking for the crew this evening.
What are you making?
Well, I did some spaghetti last night, but there's not enough of it. So I'm going to have to go down there and rustle up something to satisfy. Stop these howling voices. So
you are so funny.
I know.
So funny.
Well, you got to laugh, don't you?
Mm-hmm.
We got to. Because all this
cry,
stuff is
cry. That's what I used to do. Bobby Blue Bland, baby. I love the blues.
Tears of a clown.
Ooh, and I bet you Don in there crying.
Oh, so blue.
Me.
Come cry for me.
Look, I know he in there going, Lord Jesus, help me, please.
Help me. Oh, I know I didn't
mean to drink and drive, but I did. Woe is me.
Ooh, can I get an amen somewhere? Ooh.
Lord, I should have checked myself in rehab,
Mm,
but
you
I
so
did not. You shut up. Come on with it.
girl, you crazy. I love you.
It's sick.
It is sick. It is so sick. And we're having to have a front row
Well,
seat
what
to
y'all
this
down there talking
madness.
about? Get a grip. What's going on down there?
So,
Somebody tell get a grip.
oh right, talking about bread. Can't get bread today for under $5
Well,
a
guess
loaf.
what?
I have
Queen,
lived too
I don't
long.
know where you live. You must be in the UK because the Queen ain't never gonna get nobody $5 for no bread. I done had a loaf of bread for over a month. It's probably got green people running out of it by now.
I'll be making do with a pack of crackers. We won't be eating any better than Don for this over with, if it keeps on this way. So,
Oh, Queen gonna eat. You can see that. This little number 10 I got up under here is crying now. All I think about now to go down to the park around the corner and take a walk.
well, when all else fails,
Shut your
that food's gonna be there. That's for sure. That'll be the last thing. My little cold dead hands will turn loose up. Is my bologna sandwich.
But I was just sitting there thinking that these jails now, that's all they giving them for lunch is like a sandwich and maybe a carton of milk, and then then dinner they might get a little regular dinner.
Yeah.
But they probably cutting back too. Food is high.
Well, right. They are. They're not going. They've got a certain budget to work within, and the price is going up, and the budget ain't.
I can't find any buttermilk to make my bread. Patricia, y'all please stop.
Now listen, when it gets to where I can't have cornbread, I'm gonna be complaining.
You wouldn't buy. Let me ask you this: you wouldn't buy store-bought cornbread?
Girl, now no.
I'm just asking.
You know the answer to that. I got to have homemade cornbread, and don't
So
bring
y'all
me
be cooking at your house?
Yes. Got to have some greens and cornbread. Yes, ma'am. If you can see me, I eat pretty good. You can look at me and say, well, she ain't missed too many meals.
Somebody said, didn't you hear the latest drama? Candace has 90,000 in the bank.
Oh yeah, I believe that. So hard.
You got 90,000 in the bank, but you've been living in filth and turmoil up on the mountain. Yeah. Stay woke.
And you can't afford a housekeeper. Come on.
You can't afford clothes. You can't afford a bra. You can't afford stairs.
Yeah.
You can't afford to feed your kids, keep your kids clean, but you got 90 G's in the bank.
Yeah, there's a hole in Daddy's arm where all the money goes. She got
90 G's in the bank, and I'm wearing a size 32A bra.
Trainer.
Yeah, for my neck. A boomerang around my neck.
All right. Well, I'm gonna scat on you. I've enjoyed it. Thank you for having me up today.
Love you.
Thank all. I love you too. Thank all of y'all in chat for being so good. I'll talk to you later, darling.
Okay, baby. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
All right. Thank you all so much for joining me. I'm going to check out of here. Cut this an early live because my lives have been going way too long. But that's the latest, which is absolutely nothing. Today marks 8 months that Summer Wells went missing from Rogersville, Tennessee. I don't have any new updates pertaining to the new reward amount. Anything from the news. I checked the Google search. Several outlets. No one had any uploaded story pertaining to the 8-month anniversary date of this child going missing. I don't have any new information to bring you pertaining to Candace or anybody else because I didn't go in the queue to look because I didn't care. It's just how I feel right now. Because everything he said, she said, Pookie said, Ray said, I'm just tired of these two. I'm tired of them. And I'm really disgusted now because we're approaching spring and there's no new news or information pertaining to the child's disappearance. Prayers for her brothers, prayers for Summer Wells. If you want to donate to the channel, $ began to 129 Cash App. I may be on a little later with another story, but right now, I'm over this one. Thank you, sweetheart. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you for the donation. Thank you so much. I thank you all for following the content, liking and sharing. Welcome new subs, old subs, and people that's just dropping by to hear the content. Thank you so much for your support. Prayers for these children who are left behind. Because in the end, as I said, it doesn't matter if I or whomever likes the Wells, they still left behind some children who are now in the state's care. And somebody has to take care of those said children. Those children also have to get used to a new environment without their parents, and possibly these kids like their environment, like their parents. I don't know. I don't know them, so I can't speak for them. And that's the whole thing, that what I like and will come to accept, who's to say that that's the same for somebody else? Maybe they didn't like their environment, but in the end, what can they do about it? They're children. You're welcome, sweetie. They're children. And some things that seem ugly, horrible, nasty, gross, somebody likes it. Thank you, Angie. So that's the thing about it, perception. What you like, I don't have to like. A lot of people grow up in horrible situations, horrible homes, nasty parents, vile parents. And they actually like being there because they don't know anything else. They don't know anything else. So let's think about that. Perhaps that life up there on the mount was acceptable to all 4 children. And we know it was acceptable to the parents because they chose that life for themselves and their kids. But somebody else will walk up and say, hell no, I don't want to live like this. How could a child be happy like this? But the sad part of this is possibly the children were happy up there with those said abusive, drunks, addicts, filthy people. But I pray that they are in a better place, happy. I pray they're being treated well, exceptionally well. I pray that they are adjusting, because that's the thing people don't seem to understand about children who are taken out of their parents' care. It's a rough situation because now they're adjusting to new people, new ways of thinking, doing things, and you have to pray that they're going to be okay. Same with boy H. He obviously has a lot of demons himself to wrangle with, and dealing with this issue of this child missing and being there in her company that day. And as I said, I don't know all that happened on the 15th of June. Who saw what, said what, who's in on anything, I don't know. But I know the parents are complicit. And I know that if it wasn't for them, we would never be talking about Summer Wells, her brothers, H, Allie, none of these people. Had they just stayed up on that mount and mind their damn business and raised their children, there would be no Summer Wells story. But sadly, there is. And most people will tell you in law enforcement, CPS, that the parents are usually responsible for the disappearance of their said children, for the abuse of their said children, the neglect of their said children. And if you can't bring a viable suspect that was there with those people present, with all said children on the 15th, then your suspect lies between Don, Candace, and the grandmother. It is what it is. Thank you for joining me. You all have a safe night, safe week. This is Everyday Shenanigans.